And we're starting a couple of times.
What? What we win?
Welcome, everybody. I just get back into open here. Yep.
It's just another letter.
Good. So we were in close. We're in open now. So if you got minutes first. Well, welcome everybody, and sorry we're a little late, a little tardy, but we'll pick up the pace as we go. I'm working the council pretty hard today, so I had to give them a little break before we came back out. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Anderson. The previous minutes of the October 15th, 2019 council meeting, October 15th, 2019 closed session meeting are approved. All in favor? Pam. I had it.
You can borrow mine.
No, I think that's the one I just took from you.
Yeah, sure.
It actually is.
Yeah.
You noticed that I take it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Additional items. Yeah, my computer's not working here now. Here. I got it here. Any additional items?
Yep.
David? Okay. Anybody else?
Yes.
Judy? I'll probably have one. Done. Okay. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Gunson. The Town of Minnow Council convenes in the Committee of the Whole. All in favor? Ready? Delegations. We have two delegations today. First being, oh yeah, here we are.
Okay.
I have John McFicker. And John, would you like to come up and state what you're talking about today? Although we did get everybody got the letter, right?
Yes. Very good.
Got your letter.
Okay. I don't want to take up my whole 10 minutes because I want to leave some room for questions.
Sure.
I'll make some preliminary comments and then we'll get into some cute little pictures.
Yep.
So I want to talk to you about solving a problem without government money.
We're all for that.
All for it. My wife and I live in Listowel, and 100 yards behind our back deck is woods. And in the woods were living some feral cats. The feral cats were causing a problem in the neighborhood. You might know of feral cats and they're not causing a problem. What I'm here today to do, as I told Pat Raftis, I'm getting the exposure. I want residents of Wellington to know that there are people out there who are interested in solving a problem if they see one. So in our, is there one back there too?
Yep,
okay.
yep, we're good.
In our home sweet home, in the back you can see that we have built walls to prevent snow from building up. You can tell that we're not Martha Stewart. We'll take anything we can get. That's the next one. This is a view of the other side of our colony with feeding stations. Next one. On the right side of that picture, they're a little hard to see, but there are 4 condos built there. We keep the straw changed every once in a while. Those condos are insulated. Why did we, and there's our last one. That's one of the nice ladies on our street who is cuddling up to not a feral. This is the other part of the problem that I want to talk about. This is what we think is a cat that was dropped off in our neighborhood because people know that we will not harm the cat. They want to get rid of it without putting it in a bag and leaving it on the side of the road. But we are people who are doing something about the problem. Now, there are 420 shelters of various kinds across Ontario. There are 3 in Kitchener-Waterloo, 17 in London. There are only about a dozen in all of Wellington County. There are very, very few in this neck of the woods. And so people who see a problem with ferals, or they want to get rid of a cat or dog, there are very few choices as far as taking that animal. So they are, okay, I'll just sneak it off somewhere in the night. That cat that you saw being cuddled, we took him to EVA in Kitchener, EVAH, East Village Animal Hospital, totally run by donations and volunteers who want to help with cleaning and so on at the clinic. EVA started in London, so there are 2 locations now. They're branching out further. I would love to be able to find a vet who wants to do the kind of operations. That black and white cat that you saw, I took to EVA early one morning a month ago because we could not find, through all our ways of social media, we could not find the owner. At least the owner didn't come forward. So I take him off to EVA. He gets neutered for $64.71. And that is about a third, no, maybe less than half of what the going rate is, because the balance is covered by donations. So that's, as I mentioned, I want the residents of Wellington to know that there are, even though I live in Listowel, my work here in Harriston has caused people to come to me because they've heard of what I do in Listowel. And so I want the residents of Wellington to know that there are ways to help with this problem. Okay, any questions?
For John.
Straightforward.
Judy?
So this is definitely an issue in our community. I think it's an issue in the rural areas, but maybe we don't get quite as fussed up about it because we have a rural area and we have a little more room for these things. Can someone tell me, we had this issue in Palmerston. I think we talked about maybe sending some of those cats off and then bringing them back non-fertile. Did that happen, or where did that end up?
I don't think that actually happened. I think the person that was involved in it we found it was doing it for a profit. They were actually wanting, I was saying to John, they were actually getting the cats and then let them wanting to have kittens so that they would then sell the kittens. So they were doing it as a business. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
It's a hard sell.
Hard sell it is. But anyways, I guess they had some people, whatever.
Quite
but
a
I think
salesperson.
that person ended up being moved out of that building. Remember that building got renovated?
Yes, that's right.
And that person left, so the problem left with it. But
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
yeah, but but we've had that occasionally at different spots, and usually it gets to a point where somebody's looking after them, I guess, and feral cats will go to where they can get some food. That's for sure. Now, in your case, I guess, John,
we wanted to keep them back in the woods,
right,
because they were causing problems with neighbors who don't like cats.
Right.
I don't want them digging in my garden.
Yeah, yeah.
And so by feeding them, the 6 volunteers on our street, and that was one of them.
And that kept them from going anywhere else.
Exactly. Yeah.
I guess it depends where you have that. I mean, you have a nice spot there where you got them in the bush and they would stay in the bush.
Yep.
And Judy's saying, I mean, we're in the rural area. We have the same, sometimes that works, but it's when we were in a situation in Palmerston where it was right downtown and that was causing a lot of problems.
That's when it's a serious problem. But certainly in the rural areas, I mean, I'm quite sure people drop off their animals because they think, well, that's a nice barn over there. I'm sure they'll be well looked after. And I mean, there's a limit to what we in the rural areas can accommodate too. And I wish I'd brought the graphic, but there's this thing that was going around on Facebook a while ago that like a male and a female cat in the space of, I don't know, 2 or 3 years can have literally that the offspring can have like
Yes.
thousands of kittens. Like it's just unbelievable, and it's way too many. So I mean, if there's a way that we can get some of these animals neutered or spayed, I think it's
Right.
a great
And
idea.
that's in other areas. I know in California where my daughter lives in Pasadena, that is an option. If you have a feral cat comes close and they need it, they can take them in and they get them done. Nothing there, but you've got it to a point where you've got a vet that does
If
it.
you have any kind of a problem, you get in touch with me.
Right. Thanks, John. Yep. So right now we haven't had a lot of complaints of late, but I'm sure that problem still exists. We just haven't had those where they've been causing problems.
Okay.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Good luck, John.
Hey. Up next. Oh, we have quite a count. Who's all going to do it, Sarah? Are you starting and then you got all this backup, or you guys? What's up?
Well, yes, I'll be presenting, but I think most of our counterparts here. You don't want me to introduce, so I'll.
Oh, you can if you want.
Well, if you know Aldo.
Yeah.
Aldo
I think we
Salas,
know
our
everybody there.
director, Jameson Picard, senior policy planner, and of course Linda.
Yeah.
And then I'm Sarah Wilhelm. I'm the manager of policy planning. That's a new role for me that I took on in about February of this year. So this is the 5th time I've done this presentation.
I was going to say that you're doing a road show on this. I know.
I am.
First here.
First here, though.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's right. What I've noticed over the time I've presented is that this material is maybe more interesting to me than it is to others. So
No.
I know it's actually hard for me, but I find this all quite interesting, and but I will try to keep my comments short rather than risking going over time.
Well, it's certainly important too, Sarah. So
Yes.
I appreciate you coming and giving this presentation.
Okay, so why we're here, of course, we had a report go to Planning Committee in September, and it seemed like a good idea to do the roadshow and make sure that every council gets this presentation, has a common understanding about the work that we have ahead of us. We wanted to do this before we actually formally kicked off the project, so that once we do our full our full website and all of the other releases, you won't have any surprises. You'll know kind of what we're up to. And we also want to start, be proactive and talk to you and maybe take the temperature a little bit and see where everybody is. I think we have a little bit of an idea since you've had some other things going on, but still nice to come here today. The next slide, of course, we're dealing with the county official plan, and it is the key central planning document that we use for our planning decisions in Wellington. It's county-wide, but also has local policies. And in Wellington, we have 14 urban centers and 37 hamlets. And the official plan, importantly, it's a living document which we regularly update. We've had it for many years, but of course, it's regularly kept up to date. This slide shows you the 3 different ways that we can keep the official plan current. And I think you've all heard about the Municipal Comprehensive Review, so I'll start with that. That would be the Provincial Growth Plan Conformity Exercise, and it comes with a date. So it's important. We do have to complete that by July of 2022. I understand that we're middle of the road in terms of timing, so we're not at the end of the pack at all. We've already started doing some of our background work in the summer, and that would be work to update our land inventories for all of our municipalities, so that we're starting off at the same place. Actually, if you can go next, yeah. So. The key components are listed on that slide, and those are all detailed in the report, so I'm not going to go into those in detail other than to focus on the land needs assessment, which is the lion's share of the work that we have ahead of us. We will be hiring Watson and Associates, who does a lot of the development charges work across Wellington, to help us with most of the key areas that we'll be looking at. So the employment strategy, housing strategy, doing our land budget, and some of those key areas of work that we need to do. And also we'll be updating the agricultural system mapping and the natural heritage system as well. The 5-year review is a process that you might be familiar with. We did our last one in 2014, so we're actually on target for doing that work. That's a requirement of the Planning Act that we do these updates every 5 years, and I've been comparing it to a housekeeping amendment to the zoning bylaw, which you're probably more familiar with. So that's where we'll be picking up all of those key changes to legislation that have been happening. We have the Greenbelt Plan doesn't come into your area, but the provincial policy statement, we need to bring our plan up to date with the 2014, and also the province has a new provincial policy statement that's out for review this year as well.
Hey, sorry. The green belt doesn't come into our area. I
No.
thought we've got added in.
Well, you know what? I think you're right in one way. So technically, the Greenbelt Plan covers off Erin and Puslinch, but what the province did, it was a bit of an interesting way. They pulled the policies from the Greenbelt Plan and put it into the growth plan.
Yeah.
And so essentially we're left with Greenbelt-like standards that we now have to adhere to for all of our planning applications. So,
and it's a little frustrating for us because everybody around us isn't.
Right.
So our planning issues are a lot heavier because of that, right? I just wanted to make sure. So yeah, when you said we aren't technically, but we got dragged in when they came. That was in 17 when they finished that one off, right?
That's right. So
is there any hope or thought that this government might change that?
The government was signaling some changes to. You might remember, I think it was before the election or during the election process, and then they backed off. It looks like those policies are here to stay for now.
As long as I kind of know, and I was kind of excited there for a second. I thought we were out.
Right. Yeah. I think they've committed to not touching it for the time being.
Yeah. Okay.
So, the last category is standalone reviews, and those are the types of official plan amendments you're familiar with, because that's like a site-specific development application that might come through, like the Clark Heinmiller property. But we can do standalone reviews for policies as well. So if we chose to hone in, for example, on climate change, we could kind of hive that off and do that separately. But what we are recommending is that the county follow a blended approach where we would do the municipal comprehensive review and the 5-year review bundled together in one process so that we can have some efficiencies in our public engagement process. So that's what we're looking to do. But if we need to hive off specific issues or we have, legislative changes that come down, we can still make changes as we go along. This last table is a very high-level phasing plan, just to give everyone a sense of what we're generally looking at in terms of timing. We have a 4-phased approach, and consultation will occur throughout. The phase 1, as I said, we've been working on that over the course of the summer. The background studies, we've already been in contact with Watson, and we will be doing a lot of the work in-house as well. So we'll be regularly reporting to county council, and we'll have a program for keeping your staff informed and periodically updating local municipalities as well. So we'll have our technical analysis in phase 2 in 2020, where we'll start to fold in some of the 5-year review components as well. And then phase 3, we have options, and that's where we'll start looking at discussion papers or areas of particular focus. So we'll try to have, an agricultural focused paper maybe, or the natural environment, land budget, that sort of thing. Not everybody's going to be interested in all of the different pieces, so we'll try to do that. We don't actually get into the formal Planning Act process until we get into that draft official plan amendment stage. So there will be 2 phases of consultation. One will be, it'll be one that we'll develop and customize for the county, and then we will click into the statutory capital P public meeting and going through that process. But that'll come much later down the road. And then the other thing that I should mention is that the 5-year review and the municipal comprehensive review come under a different section of the Planning Act than a standalone review, which means that it's subject to provincial approval and it is not appealable. And so that means that we'll go through this process and collaborate and arrive at a final amendment document that will go to county council. But the province could make changes to that after the fact if they chose to, and it can't be appealed by others. So in addition to that, this is a big undertaking. I did mention that in the report. There are a lot of technical requirements. The province has also published a series of guidance documents. They tell us what methodology we need to follow for the land needs assessment because they want it to be consistent. We have guidance papers on the agricultural system updates, the natural heritage system, how we conduct a municipal comprehensive review, an agricultural impact assessment paper as well, and I might be missing one or two. And at the same time, because they've been tuning up some of the documents, we now have a 2019 version of the growth plan. They're also going to be tuning up the land needs assessment methodology, and so we're constantly going to going to Toronto and meeting with other municipalities and providing feedback into these different documents. And there was a bit of a lull during the election, and then now we'll see things starting to pick up again. So that ends the formal part of the presentation. I guess really I'm here and we're here because we really want to hear your comments and any suggestions that you might have, particularly since we will be drawing up the communications and engagement plan if you have any thoughts around that. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Questions?
Thank you, Mayor Braid. So if I wanted to really learn a whole lot more about this, and I do, Sarah,
Yes.
is there a website that I can go to and follow what exactly you're doing, what you and your group is doing?
Yes. So not yet.
Not yet.
Yes, stay tuned. So that's why I'm saying this is we're jumping at it a bit early. We haven't actually formally kicked off and launched done it. I'll call this a soft launch. So we will have a project website. We will have ways of regularly updating people. I'm hoping that we can use the technology we have available to us to make it easier for people to not have to come out to a meeting or maybe not take as deep a dive as some others want to, but we'll have all of the reports there that you can download, and we'll have a mailing list and all of those good things. And we'll also we'll have some kind of a municipal working group as well, so that that your staff can be involved, and that we'll all be able to have conversations together along the way.
Good.
Just maybe a comment or two, Sarah. I noticed on the climate change piece, we have our climate person who's embedded in planning, and I would assume we're going to be using that person for some of this, or is that going to be?
I can turn to Linda for that, but my understanding is that I think she's tasked with working on other things at this point. And
but I just wondered if we're talking about climate change and how it affects the planning issues.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the person. All of you want? Mm-hmm. Yep. To the funding. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just thought it, good resource, and I know we want to tag in as much as we can at the local level there as well. So
do as much
be looking
as
out.
we can.
Yeah. I guess my other questions would be, and sort of around, and I know we're working towards this in a couple of years, and has to be done every 5 years. There's been a lot of talk because we all have a very, from economic development standpoint, very big issues. And I know at the county level we've had a task force that we've looked at attainable housing and how we're going to get there. And of course, a lot of this falls around planning because we have to know in the planning issues where we're going to grow and what we're going to try to do and how we do subdivisions and all the other stuff. So I know this is very important. We have to get this done. The government has been giving us a lot of, in fact, I was just at a meeting a week ago, and Minister Clark, who's Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, said again at that meeting, a bunch of AMO people, let's get going. We give you some tools to get this stuff going right away. And I know we want to do this, but we have to do it in parallel somewhat. So I know for this town, we've been working away at secondary plans, and I know we've been having some good conversations with the planning department at Wellington County on this. We don't have to. We can still do stuff before this happens. I take it, right? Like this is like because we want to move forward on a few individual situations that we can maybe change some of our growth pattern just in our own community. This is kind of like when you get all of Wellington County. We have to come up with a global Wellington County proposal, which we want to work with everybody in Wellington County. And thank goodness, and I'm really excited about the fact that Erin has finally got going with their funding and going to get some sewer and water, because certainly that's really affected them and their planning. And you know that you've been in the South for a few years, and that's really going to be a boom for Wellington County and all the taxpayers in Wellington County. So, and those are the issues that we're dealing with. And right in the north here, Wellington North, Maple, and ourselves, we're really in a big growth spurt. So we have to identify, one, where we're going to spend our money in infrastructure, because it's important if we are going to put more sewer and water capacity in place, is that fold into where we're going to be in our planning side. So I'm hoping that we can continue to do both, because the minister keeps saying to us, and I'm not sure that all the people that are in his department understand that, but politicians it's easier for a politician to say, let's just do something. It's a lot harder to get the planning in stages, as you know, being a planner and being a policy planner. My goodness, that's just got to keep you up at night. but you have to actually work within a policy of what they give you, right? Yes. So it's kind of hard because we're getting that pressure. Let's get building attainable housing. I know this council, we really need it. We've got factories that can't get employees because they can't get rental, they can't get other things. So we have to work together. So great to see this coming, and I think, and great that you're ahead of the game, because I know you're a little bit ahead of where a lot of people are going into their 5-year plan. But we'll work with you as much as we can. But we'd also want to continue on some of these secondary things, like the 40-hectare thing, whether that's going to be supposedly only around for a couple of years until we put all these projects into place. So if there's a possibility of working on that, I think that's what I'd like to see. I don't know if you have any comments on that or.
Yeah, I have a few things I can tell you. I did have a conference call with the province this morning. We've retained Watson and Associates to provide us with a little bit of help in working on Palmerston in particular and around the 40 hectares.
Yep.
I think it was a good conversation, but it did show me that there are still things that aren't clear in terms of exactly. Well, you know the guinea pig. You've talked about being a guinea pig, and it's tough to be a guinea pig. I didn't get all the clear answers that I would have liked to at that conversation, but I did. There is one area that we're exploring a bit more, which is the idea of freezing excess land. So I know the idea of swapping land is what we've been talking about, rather than the 40 hectares. Trying to do this even exchange, because it's easier. I'll be honest with you. It's a lot easier. But the question is removing it from the urban boundary, for example, if we looked at Clifford. So we've been looking at this idea of freezing it, so keeping it within the boundary, but putting a special policy on it that says it can't be developed until after the planning horizon, after 2041. And I didn't get a no. I got they'd need to talk about it more with, another ministry and this and that. And so I think that that's something that we would be supportive of pursuing further to see. And the other new information is that provincial staff are open to the idea of moving land from a hamlet to an urban center. So Teviotdale, for example, if that might be something that would be workable. And what we did learn, I guess here's the bad news, that the 40 hectare expansion would require some professional analysis to support it from somebody like Watson. And the province doesn't have any specific direction or guidance at this time about what exactly that would be. I think we'd have to have more conversations, but they just simply haven't had anyone put their toe in the water on that yet.
And I guess that's where the disconnect is. And in fairness to you, I mean, there's a disconnect here because you can't keep going to these meetings and saying that you're open to this. This is going to help everybody get going, and then still continue with the red tape, or not give a straight direction to staff to say, let's make this happen. So that's where we as politicians can push back through AMO and through other organizations, in which we will. But when I sit here and have those conversations with the minister and he keeps saying, well, we've given you the tools. No, they haven't given us the tools. And I think that's where the frustration comes in. And I know that our previous meeting, there was a little bit of back and forth and whatnot, but it was never meant to be any malice. It was just the fact that we're frustrated because we're being told from that standpoint, and I've had conversations with all of them on this, that they haven't got that direction down to the people that you're working with to try to work through things to come up with the plan. So I guess we need to keep that pressure on, and whether if this 40 hectares, if you had to go out and get Watson to do all this, which again flies in the face of what they've always said, we don't want to have a bunch of consultants doing stuff. We're supposed to be cutting the red tape, just make it logical, do it. That's not necessarily what you're getting from the people. And I just want to make sure that people, this is on television, so, we want to make sure they understand that. But we'll continue along that path, and we'll work with you, and we have our consultant, but we also, if we had to go out and get Watson, maybe that's what we do. But at the point in time, that seems a bit archaic in my mind as to where we're going, because that's not what the minister keeps saying to us when we're out in the field, and he keeps making these pronouncements. And
the way it was framed to me was that the 40 hectares, it still has strings attached to it. You have to make it up. Yep. And so,
as you say, nobody else is trying it at this point but us, right?
That's right. But I mean, so it comes with a series of detailed policies associated with it that we have to review and apply. So we'll continue to do that, but I would say that the adjustment, which would be a swapping equal amounts, is really the area that seems to have potential, and I would love to continue exploring that. The other thing I can tell you is that we have a pre-consultation for our municipal comprehensive review. So we get to be at the table with the province for them to tell us what we need to do. But we've arranged to have a meeting on the Palmerston matter after that, if you would be interested in attending.
For sure, I would be.
That would be happening on November 26th. So
November 26th, of course. It's November 26th, and I'm in Ottawa, but we'll have somebody.
Okay.
But I'm at FCM.
Is that a conference call or?
No, well, it would be at the county offices, and it's a face-to-face if you're able to come, or we can have you call in.
We'll have representation definitely there. We'll figure it out. I'll talk to Chris and see what he thinks.
I'll pass that information
on. I'd be there in a heartbeat if I wasn't already in Ottawa.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.
And you don't have to stay for the rest of it. You can kind of go. Oh, yeah. Well, you can stay on. Anyways, take care.
Thanks, you guys.
See you guys.
Public question period now. Got anybody who has public question?
Oh, Chris is coming to the mic.
No, he isn't. Yeah, we have correspondence. Anybody want to take anything out of the correspondence? Okay.
I'd like to pull Jim Measure's letter.
Number B.
Okay. Item B. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah. Do you want to talk to that? Do you want Mike to talk to that?
Well, at this point, I just thought we'd pull it and send it to staff, but.
Yeah.
I don't
but-
wanna-
Well, yeah, we
I
can.
don't want to put anybody.
No, we've had some
Fine.
discussion on it.
Oh, I see, okay.
So at the department heads, do you want to speak to it, Mike, at all now, or do you want to do a because I don't know if it needs a report or not, but because it's pretty straightforward, we can't do it.
I know,
It's
but
not
we
our-
have to get. I know, but we have to get that out there.
I know. That's why I thought Mike could talk to it now.
Okay, just briefly, if in order to keep a four-way stop there, it would be an improper use of a four-way stop. The traffic doesn't warrant this use, and it would need to be approved by the MTO if it was to stay.
It was MTO, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if you'd like any more information on it, we could bring back another further report on it. If it's something council would like to
Well,
proceed with.
I think that makes the answer public. I just didn't want this letter to just get
Yeah.
Oh, it's
lost.
a good point,
Yeah.
Judy. It's a good point.
Okay.
And I do think that we are purchasing a couple more of our. We lost one, unfortunately, of our flashing signs, and I think it might be a good use to, as it opens up now, to maybe take one of those new signs temporarily and put it up there and get people to slow down.
Yeah, it could be put in the rotation for a location for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Does that help a little bit too?
Sure. Is there any way to make those signs more permanent? So that-
Well, we're thinking we have to look at we'll get at budget time. We'll have to have that discussion because a couple of municipalities have gone a little bit more with them, and
They work.
they work.
Yeah.
Yep.
One issue that I do see with a permanent use is people have the opportunity
using
to
it.
steal them, or
Oh,
they get used
yeah.
to them. That's what happened to the one that being used in the same location for the detour. We feel that people found the time where they could actually steal it without anybody really knowing. So
Well, we're hoping to come up with some way to not have
Yeah.
make it a lot
What do you
tougher
mean?
to steal.
Yeah. I don't understand what
Yep.
you do with it, but
They
Yard
can't
art?
do anything with them.
I don't know.
Once the battery's gone, they can't unless they have a battery charger. They can't that
Yeah.
charges
So-
those kinds of batteries, which shouldn't be something they get at the hardware store.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, you want to make the motion?
Yep.
David,
no second.
Judy, all in favor? Thank you. Okay. Committees, economic development. And there's Belinda.
Still on? Yep. Okay, so just a couple things I wanted to highlight out of the economic development minutes, which seemed like it was a long time ago, back on October the 10th. Those that didn't know, the chamber was successful in receiving a $10,000 grant. So if you haven't met Ethan, him and Summer have been out and about talking to our businesses. Specifically, this is specific grant for downtown businesses, commercial businesses, and they can themselves access $2,500 grants. So Summer and Ethan have been out and about, and there's actually a seminar tonight and tomorrow night in Newstead for free. And the caliber of these people that are coming is like amazing. So hopefully we have quite a few Minto businesses making the trek to Newstead tonight. Also, 2 o'clock this Friday at Harry Stone's, if you're available, is the launch of this program. So MPP Pettipiece will be there, and I believe our Deputy Mayor Turton is filling in for the mayor. It's really an informal launch of this program, just trying to make sure our businesses are aware of this great initiative. And I believe I put in all your mailbox your invite to the holiday social that the chamber is hosting. This year it is at the King Hotel, Food by Bombay Hub. So if you didn't get a chance to check out the rooms at the King Hotel during their open house, I'd highly suggest you attend this event because it's a very nice venue. So there's that. A big part of our meeting was talking about 2020 priorities, and that list is there on page 5 and 6. Of what we see as like priorities, and the committee was tasked with going away, looking at all the options and coming back with what they think are their priorities, or what from their different sectors, what they think our priorities for 2020 should be. So the next meeting should be interesting. You can see there's quite a list of things on the list, so lots of choices there. We also talked about staffing, mostly around like having some more support during the summer. In terms of being ambassadors at events, the farmers market, our Treasures of Minto website definitely needs to be updated. And sadly, our museum students won't be back this year, so we need to find some new museum people. So, and then we are in talks again. I mentioned this at the Northern Wellington Joint ECDEV meeting about a shared youth engagement coordinator. we all kept that in our budgets this year and just kind of looked and saw how things rolled out with that and how we were able to manage. It's a lot of work. And yeah, we're all back at the table talking about how we can keep our youth engaged and the number of things we want to do. And we are talking about sharing that service again. So outside of that, I don't think there's anything else I want to highlight out of those minutes. If there's any questions.
Questions? Can I have a motion? F. Ron this time, and I'll get Jean next time. All in favor?
Okay, and then the cultural roundtable. Most of this meeting was taken up by talking about the County of Wellington Museum and Archives. They're doing a strategic plan, and we've just shared some information on our social media channels. Encourage the public from Minto to get on and complete the survey in regards to the museum and archives. Our specific questions really focused around how they can be more relevant outside of Centre Wellington. And I think our group had some good ideas for them to take back and consider, so that'll be interesting. We also did a recap of Culture Days. I think there was well over 300 people that attended, almost 400, yes, that attended the events over Culture Day weekend. So we have some ideas for next year. And then in your package, as an attachment, is our draft public art policy, or I guess it was final. And we're looking for, our recommendation is that council adopt our public art policy. We've never had one of these. As we are growing our public art inventory, we thought it was probably a good idea to have one of these in terms of maintaining what we have and adding to that collection. And yeah, that's kind of the main thing out of those minutes.
Questions? I just have one comment. If we could just get a dome over Jean's house, we finally will get that. One of these years, Jean, you'll get to look at the stars with Gord.
We did the first year.
Oh, it was the first year we did get it.
First year.
That's right.
Just there was nobody in the house when Gord got there, just the horses and the cat.
And the second.
Yeah. Anyways, it's unfortunate, but
You'll be the second year too.
yeah. Jean always has her place open. We never seem to get a good day weather-wise, but I give a lot of credit to the Cultural Roundtable group that really put a lot of effort into the things, and even the little trendy trains, and I watched them march off in the rain and up the straight street. But we had 50.
Yeah, there was over 50 kids that registered at the museum for the Tiny Trains event.
Yeah.
And it was raining, so
yeah, I know.
Had it been nice, we definitely would have ran out of.
It was a great event. And, thanks for all that hard work.
Yeah, I'll move it.
Jean moves it. Deputy Mayor Turton second. All in favor? Oh, Jean, she had to get that one.
Yeah.
Building assistance. Oh, Michelle has this one.
I was hiding back there.
She was hiding. She was very quiet.
Thank you for your leverage. I'm sorry you seem so surprised to see me.
Oh, I thought I could see
it's
you
always
there.
a pleasure, though. Okay, so we have 2 lot line adjustment applications for the applicant Dan Sinclair. One property that's being turned, 2 properties, sorry, that will be reconfigured into 2. I don't know about you, but I found it very confusing, so I've added some color. Not that I possess a lot of skill in this area, but the proposed application for lot 68 basically is the one that's going to create the one that looks like a big green hockey stick, and the other one's taking the larger triangle and turning it into a smaller triangle, which just at this point currently has the pond on it and will create a buildable lot, and the other lot will remain the same with the existing home on it. So staff met, and we have absolutely no concerns other than recommending that we put forward the general standard conditions that we have for the financial and new drainage assessment. We do not have any of the county planners here left to speak to their application, so I don't know if you have any questions.
Yeah, I was going to say they could have hung around for this.
With theirs. But it is taking the old CN rail line, and then that's what we're merging.
Any questions, Jean?
I'm just curious about what is the point of having, like, I looked at this and looked at this and looked at this and thought, what are they doing? What is? Yeah, they're going to put a house on the corner, but why go all the way up I don't quite understand.
Well, just when the applicant purchased that section of the rail land, and then to sever that piece of rail land so that he could create a buildable lot. So his intention is to leave that as the parents, actually, of the applicant who live in the home where the green hockey stick is. What
Yes,
the
the
intentions
gr-
are to do with the rest of the stick portion, I'm not entirely certain, but he does plan to build on the lower triangle where the pond exists.
David.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. It's intensification, really.
Yes, but as far as the reason, there's no.
Yeah.
That's just the way the parcel came.
We just end up looking.
Exactly. But it's putting good use to something that might sit there forever.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? I have, you want to move that one?
Sure, I'll move that.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Turton, seconded by Councillor Elliott. All in favor?
Nobody helping you?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. You're up again.
Yes. Surprise. So this one is actually another lot line adjustment. So the neighboring property, we have approximately 91.4 acre parcel, and that is municipally known as 55717 7th line to merge with 5541 7th line for the continued agricultural use. Again, staff met. It is zoned agricultural and natural environment, and the land complies with all minimum frontages, and we respectfully request that these standard conditions apply again, financial, and then a drainage assessment. The county planner has indicated that they also have no issues with this particular lot line adjustment.
I got one question, Mayor
Yes.
Bridge. Thank you. So what happens with the numbers when they merge? It's one piece of property. Do they still keep the 5571 and the 5541?
Well, the retained portion will have where
It'll
the
have that
house and
number.
everything, so it will all be coming to the
Yeah. Okay.
one. So there no new numbers will need to be created. Just the agricultural land will become one parcel, and the other address will.
Correct.
contain
Okay.
house.
Good. Thank you.
The mover. Jeff. Ron. All in favor? Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Heart of control.
So again, council should be quite familiar
Yep.
with this application. It came back before you back in 2018 for the reconfiguration, or the intention to reconfigure the lots from the original plan and to ask for an extension. They've built the semi-detached on the one corner, and they've come forward requesting to have all the lot configured into 6 separate lots to be put before.
Questions? It's nice to see it keep going.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, and we agreed to initiate
Yep.
part lot control, and
Yep.
they've actually received occupancy not too long, and they have a purchaser, so
Hmm.
they would like to get going.
Perfect. Okay. Can
Yeah,
I have
I'll
a
move
mover?
So yeah,
Mark? Turton, all in favor?
thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Public Works, and I got Paul's going to do this, and I bet you, hey, and Mike.
Yeah, Councillor Dirksen.
Oh, I've turned it over to Councilor Dirksen. Sorry, Judy.
Okay.
I
Thank you,
didn't
Mr.
turn my
Mayor.
page there. It's right there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are 4 items on the agenda.
Yeah, you're busy.
1, 2, 3, 4 items on the agenda. I will be leaving my seat though for the 4th one, so
Yeah, I'll look after that.
look after that.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So this is about our about the pretty things in Minto.
These are pretty
Yeah.
guys.
So Paul's going to tell us about our hanging baskets.
Yeah, just before Paul
Thanks.
started, you mentioned to me the other day that he hadn't met Councillor Gunson.
No.
And I just
Oh.
wanted to make sure that everybody else on
Yeah,
council
for sure.
could actually know who Paul is here with the town. So everybody, Paul. Coincidentally, we met that same day. I think. Yeah.
We met at the
Yeah,
office.
and it was a couple hours later.
A couple hours later, you met. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so Paul, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, members of councils, even less likely to see me here, I think, than Michelle. Good to see everybody. So I think probably everyone has had a chance to look at the reports. Quite concise, I think. We're presented there earlier this spring. We've had the same supplier for a number of years, growing everything for us for the baskets and the cubes that are a major part of our plantings each summer. They came to us this spring and said that they were planning that would be the last season and they weren't going to be able to supply them this year. So in knowing that, we've kind of looked at a few options, and for sure we made an effort to approach everyone, neighbors for sure included, who grow for us at Steckley's. They do some other things, to see what interest there was in those businesses producing that stuff for us, and probably more importantly, what ability they had to do that too. So I took the information they gave us. Unfortunately, the Steckley's don't have the square footage that they can donate to us. None of the other businesses within our municipality are able to do that as well. So we had to basically move beyond that and look outside of our municipality to do that. So I gave you some numbers for a couple of places we looked. My first option was to go to Listowel Greenhouses in just south of our municipality in Listowel, because I know they have a history of doing that sort of thing for some other municipalities. That's kind of my limiting factor. I don't want to just give that to someone who's not grown on a municipal planning scale, because it's not a big part of our budget, but it's a big part of the impact that everyone sees over the course of a season. So Frank at Listowel Greenhouses has grown a long time. He's got a lot of experience with that sort of thing. He's grown for planters in Mapleton and in Listowel as well. He provided me contact information and the recommendation to Huron Ridge Greenhouses, which is the other column of numbers there that I've got for you. His big push with recommending them is that they do business back and forth, but also they're geared far more at doing things in a wholesale level. He's much more oriented towards retail, so he figured that they would be able to do the same sort of thing just as well or better at a lower price for us, which when I forward our information for what we're looking for, numbers wise, you can see the bottom line is significantly less at Huron Ridge. So they're a greenhouse, a family business. They're third generation. They've got, I think, 70,000 square feet of greenhouse. They're a big business. They do this sort of thing for towns like Goderich, which is they put a high value in what they put out there. Mm-hmm. So I feel pretty comfortable at recommending they do something like this for us. The other selling feature for me was that they're able to deliver things to us. That was I feared that was going to be a limitation in how far away they were, is how to get stuff back. And the roads guys are already chuckling at how slow they'd be driving with the flatbed trailer bringing things back from Zurich, and they have them there for you 2 days from now. But they're in the business of, they provide material to the co-op, and so they're in our neighborhood and are set up to do that. They even said that they probably will be able to schedule that with our public works. They can deliver at a time that's reasonable for us to kind of follow along as a train and have stuff put up and not waste time in moving things more than we need to be. And that covered trucks, et cetera, obviously saves on damage to what they're growing for us too. So.
Okay, that's great. Any questions?
Yes.
Councillor Elliott.
Who designs what's going in the plants, or like to stay under the budget and stuff?
Basically me. I've been in talks with Sandra, is one of the family members there, that they basically have two protocols there with their municipal stuff. Like if you want to give us a pretty detailed layout of what you want as far as plants and colors, they're good with that. If you want to give us free reign, we'll come up with that too.
Okay. Mayor Bridge?
Just to say a good report, Paul. I know we've had discussions over the summer, and I know you've been working on this, and I've talked to Mike. It's a big change because we had a really good situation, but they wanted to retire. I can't blame them for that. And but you've done a good job of coming up with a solution, I feel.
No doubt. It's a bit of a leap of faith, I think, for all of us, because I don't have firsthand experience with this grower. I just have confidence in what they've done for other people, and the fact they're a big business and have been going for a few generations. And so hopefully, I stated there too, like we're not signing any sort of contract that we're going to be there year after year. So we'll hope everything works out well in 2020. If not, then there's no obligation to our
Okay. Any other questions? We can move in a seconder then for the recommendation that Council of the Town of Minto receive the report from the Town Landscape Coordinator dated October 30th, 2019 regarding supplying hanging baskets and planters for town summer streetscapes, and approves the awarding to Huron Ridge Greenhouses at the quoted price of $10,170 plus HST. Moved by Deputy Mayor Turton and seconded by Councillor McKenzie. All in favor? And that passes. Thank you. Thank you, Paul. And we'll move on to item number 5. And we got another newbie here tonight.
Yeah.
No stress though.
No
Now,
stress.
does everyone know Mike Doucette? Okay, so Mike has just recently become the drinking water quality management system coordinator. Really had to work on that. He's kind of following tough acts. Remember when this all started, we had Daryl Bueller get us started on this for many years, and then Todd did it for a short time. And so now Mike is at the helm of that, and I attended the full presentation there a couple weeks ago, and Mike did a great job then, and our water's in good hands, but he's going to tell us that too. So go ahead, Mike.
Thank you, Councillor Erickson. Hello, everybody. We completed our 2019 management review on October 21st, and this is part of Element 20 of the DWQMS operational plan. It kind of coincides with Safe Drinking Water Act, Section 19, just responsibilities of the council and who operates a drinking water system. Town of Minto is now fully integrated into DWQMS 2.0. This year, all of our ministry inspections came back at 100%. Everything was good there. We had no adverse water results in this reporting period. We had 3 main breaks, kind of in Hairston, just all right at the tail end of 2018 and the start of 2019. Our water consumption is pretty on par with previous years. However, we might in the coming years start to see a gradual increase in that with all the development that we have going in across Palmerston, Hairston, Clifford. We had approximately 43 new water meters since the end of 2018 get distributed to new development or whatever, so we're starting doing pretty good there. Clifford backyard mains will be basically abandoned as of next week. Hopefully everything goes good. In the next few years, we'll be conducting tests on all of our water towers to determine the maintenance on the towers going forward in the coming years. Customer complaints are high water bills continue to be the biggest complaint that we get, and therefore we go out to data log the meter and get a actual printout for the consumer and detail them on what we find. George Street North, since the new water main was installed there, we've had no further complaints about water quality over there. So that work was very good. On the sampling front, the arsenic maximum acceptable concentration was lowered, which was discussed in previous meetings. It was lowered from 25 micrograms per liter down to 10. Strontium was another thing that was in past meetings before. Health Canada is proposing the maximum acceptable concentration be lowered to 7 milligrams per liter. It's not regulated right now, so we don't have to do anything with that right now. Clifford Wells 1 and Hairston Wells all exceed the proposed limit. With the exception of Minnow Pines, all of our remaining wells will be exceeding half of the MAC, which may require additional sampling if and when that becomes a legal requirement. Sodium levels, salt levels, are slowly starting to increase in all of our wells, which is kind of a normal thing that's happening kind of across the board everywhere, not just in Minto. Lead is another one that is being proposed Possibly the standard could be lowered to 5 micrograms per liter as opposed to 10, which it currently is now. Currently, Minto is on a reduced sampling plan. If and when this change does occur, it may require some additional sampling by the town of Minto, and which also might mean that we go back to sampling the personal plumbing fixtures, which could cause some issues. Manganese is another one that is proposed to be lowered. Right now it has a aesthetic objective of 0.5 or 0.05 milligrams per liter. It was proposed to be lowered to 0.02 milligrams per liter with a MAC of 1 milligram per liter, or 0.1 milligram per liter. Other than that, everything else was really good this year for the water department. Any questions? Councilor Riley?
Go ahead.
Good report. I just wonder why they're lowering everything when it seemed everything was okay before.
Yeah, at the end of the day, the reason why they're looking at lowering it is just to achieve the best quality of drinking water for everybody. And that it means, yes, it could mean like additional testing, treatment for all of our wells, kind of across the board. But at the end of the day, it's to ensure that the best quality of drinking water goes out to consumers.
You think it's a good idea then to lower it, or will we find before?
Some things, yeah.
Question that we could ask if you need us to ask that. That's all.
Councillor McKenzie?
For you, Judy, is the increase in or the complaints about the rate of water, is that a consumption thing, or is that because the town has raised the rates, or is it just a
No, it's just
part of the business that we get complaints?
Yeah, it's just like if leaks are detected, because we only go around and read meters once every 2 months. If a leak wasn't detected in the previous billing cycle, and all of a sudden a leak happens at the start of a new billing cycle, then that person, we have no way of live tracking the consumption for our users. So unfortunately, when we read the meters 2 months later and find out that they had a leak, and once the bills go out, we get a call that bill was really high. We go out and do a data log download, and then we can actually show them when the leak starts and what the problem kind of is.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Deputy Mayor
Chairman.
Turton.
Judy, on page 29 of the report, to do with some of the damage in the towers. Can we talk? Can we talk about that just for a second?
Yes, we had some this year in Hairston. We had we had a robot go into the tower when it was not in service and do an internal inspection of the interior of the tower, and that was determined there was some damage from ice and freezing, and then the fluctuating water level in the tower caused some damage to the inside of the tower. And then it was brought up about the exterior coating of the tower, that we should be testing that so that we don't get to the point where the exterior coating is to the point where we need to do full removal and replacement of said coating. And if we can do the testing and it's determined that everything is still good, structural integrity is good, we can do an overcoat, and then that will extend the life for 10 to 15 years of that.
Okay.
That's good. So the second item is then the drinking water license in 2021 with the long-term asset management plan. Is Gord on top of that?
Yeah.
Of course he is.
Hopefully you'll see in about a month from now how on top of it we are. Yeah, we've gone through the water system in quite detail, and we could do with more condition ratings, but anything we have we put in there too. And yeah, I was out in the office today when they were doing the final locates for the last piece of that backyard abandonment, so that's good. I think we're good as far as knowing like what we have and what's there. Mike referred to these water tower inspections, and even the minimal repair is very huge dollars. So I think I've mentioned before, we're in the middle of our development charges study, which a lot of it will reflect all the growth-oriented thing. But I think the time has come because there's a lot of items to do with the chemical testing, the water towers and that. I think we want to do a rate study again, because it's only as good as our projections. And I think, as this report has alluded, there could be some major changes coming to that just to maintain what we've got, far less increase too. So, yeah, I mean, we're relatively pleased, and I think the Works module has really helped with tracking complaints and things like that, and service requests. And as Councillor McKenzie noted, so many of the consumer ones are related to leak is a bad word, anomalies in their consumption. And people, we can follow up on that now. And everybody thinks that's our water meter. And even though our water meters are getting to be about 6 to 7 years old, it's barely the water meter. It's a toilet. It's a water softener.
Okay, Mayor Bridge.
Yeah, I think Gord, thanks for picking that up, and Deputy Mayor Turton. As I was listening to some of the new rules and regulations, I was getting concerned. It sounds like it's going to be expensive if we end up having to do more testing, and that means more people possibly, or whatever. So I think it's a good idea to get in that rate opportunity at that point in time, because you remember, water and sewer, or especially water, like, you have to do that report, and if we don't have the thing covered, I'm not going to jail for anybody. We're going to make sure that we have the proper structure going forward, and if we have to get into that. And it was just in the CBC had a big article about lead, and that just came out recently. And I was going to ask you, already touched on it, which was nice to hear, that it's because they're actually testing it more now, and it could not just necessarily be in our water. It could be in all kinds of piping and different things in people's houses and everything else, that if they're testing it from the tap, there's a whole bunch of difference than testing it from the well ourselves. So, but we're going to probably have to get involved in some of these things, because there is more of that concern out there. Yeah, so I'm glad we're going ahead and working at trying to get a new rate look at it and see where we are as far as that goes.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. Great report, Mike, and good job presenting. There's a really high level of trust, for sure, between council and staff in this area in particular, I think, because if anything happens, we're on the hook, and we don't know anything about water by comparison to the great guys we have on staff. So anyways, I'm going to read the recommendation that Council of the Town of Minto receives the Compliance Coordinator's October 25th, 2019 report, DWQMS Management Review, and that all council members review, approve, and endorse the report, as well as their commitment to the Drinking Water Quality Management Standard 2.0. Anybody brave enough to make that motion? That's a pretty big motion. Okay, Councillor Gunson and Deputy Mayor Turton, all in favor. Okay, thank you. That carries. And next, our roads and drainage manager has a couple of roads that we maybe would move some snow on.
No snow. We're not having snow.
Oh, yes.
It's snowing this afternoon.
I'm sorry, we are.
So
okay, go ahead, Mike.
This report's just basically it's a yearly update. The county's willing to compensate us $9,000 up from $8,400 from last year per kilometer for County Roads 2 and 3. Is there any questions with that one?
Housekeeping.
More money for us, so it's good. Yeah.
Glad they keep coming up.
Well, let's hope we don't have too much snow.
Yeah.
Okay. So the recommendation is that the Council of the Town of Minto receive the report from the Roads and Drainage Manager regarding the winter maintenance contract for County Roads 2 and 3, and the Council accepts the compensation of $9,000 per kilometer for the 2019-2020 winter season from the County of Wellington. Moved by Mayor Bridge and seconded by Councillor Elliott. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you.
This one, Judy, do you have to...
Oh, yes, I have to walk away. Sorry.
And do we have to read into why? Or is it just have to disclose?
Clear to come.
pecuniary interest.
Pecuniary interest.
All kinds of money.
And it's oh yeah. Well, her names are on the invoices, so that would be a good reason.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the reason. Okay, thank you. So go ahead, Mike.
Well,
Oh, sure.
I think Deputy Mayor Turton. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Oh, so
we're
it's just
gonna
finance?
turn it
Does it
over.
go to finance?
Well,
For this
yeah.
one?
Well, we're going
I
to turn it over
Gordon's
because
gonna
my
take
name's
this
on
one.
the
Yeah, it is.
report.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not on my books here. That isn't here. Okay, I'll let you have
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Bridge. So,
the lead on that.
Mike, let's talk about the assessments.
Okay, well, actually, I think Ford was gonna take the lead on this one.
Gordon?
Yep, sure. So, talk about consumer complaints. We've had lots of correspondence about them. So when there's a drain, you call it municipal drain, but anyway, it's a drain that's in a watershed and it requires regular maintenance and repairs and that. So this is all being approved. Our drainage consultant, Dietrich Engineering, has supervised the work in conjunction with Mike. Unfortunately, we get very, very behind in the billing, and Dietrich have been working hard, and they finally made some real progress this summer. So in the Drainage Act, we are allowed up to 5 years, so that's why people are getting a bill, and I realize it's confusing for them. What's this bill I got for work that was done in 2016? And it's especially tricky where the property has changed hands. So anyway, this report is basically outlining that this is legal and proper, and the work has been authorized, like Mike's on top of what it is. And there's many drains. I think it's got to be 25, I think.
So, and another reason for the delay in the billing is some of the invoices, if it's not up to $500, it's not a third grantable through OMAFRA. So in knowing that there's going to be future works within the 5 years, we'll wait until we exceed that dollar value. So then the property owners are eligible for that 1/3 grant as well. So that's another reason for some of the lag in there.
Questions? Other questions? So we've had a lot of complaints on this, Gord?
I would say yes.
It actually, it doesn't matter. Like I remember even when the previous drainage super, he'd go through the same thing every year with the assessments, because a lot of times when the people get the invoices, the works aren't on their property. The drain may not be on their property.
Mm-hmm.
It's everybody down from the bottom end, everyone upstream of the location of the maintenance works pay towards it. So it's just that kind of misconception there.
So when you give them an explanation why...
Yeah,
it's
good. Yeah,
so that's
everyone's
fair.
Everyone's good.
Mayor Bridge.
Yeah, I had one situation where you talked about it. The house had changed hands.
Mm-hmm.
The person, the work was never done on their property, but it was done upstream or downstream.
Downstream. Yeah.
Downstream. And when they went out and talked to the other person that was involved, and they said no, the complaint went away.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of it is just explaining and getting people to understand it. And then the delay, that's a good point. But again, the delay is a benefit to them too if they can get more of it granted.
A break,
So that's why. So I moved the. Sorry, Jeff.
Do you have something to say, Councilor?
Yeah, just comment I'll second it.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
That was kind of the same question. So if somebody sells their house in the middle of this, so I put the drain in, sell my house next year.
Yeah.
The new people get the bill.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. It even works that way too with like a new drain under the Drainage Act as well. There could be a property that's being sold right now. The drain hasn't been put in place, but it doesn't move with that property owner. It stays with the property. So, and it's there for...
Sell it in a hurry.
Yeah.
Okay, so the recommendation is that the Council of the Town of Minto receives the report from the Treasurer and the Roads and Drainage Manager regarding municipal drain maintenance assessments and considers passage of the related assessment bylaw in open session. That's moved by Mayor Bridge, seconded by Councillor Elliott. All in favor? Against? That's carried.
Guess we could get Councillor Dirksen back.
All right, so thank you very much, Mike. We'll now move along to the approval of the accounts, and we'll ask our treasurer to give us some of the reasons why we're spending money.
Right. but not as much money as usual. Anyway.
Guess we're chairman.
Yeah, I guess that. Just the way the calendar goes, I think, sometimes. So, let's see, we paid some development charges, which is good because we've had lots of developments, about $34,000 to the county and school boards. Building department finally got the new truck, 2019 Ranger, which I think is about the size of a medium truck from 2008. But anyway, we have a Ranger. Yeah, that's the Ranger. So. 38. And we did a bit more billing, I guess, on the Noble Road. We paid off the holdback for $24,000. And on to 2020, we've got our fireworks. We're ready to celebrate for about $10,000. Done some more manhole work, actually on the Treasury Street. So that's something for $10,000. Not quite as many leaks. And the drains, again, more drainage consultant work for about $21,000. George Street North, I believe that will be the final bill, also for $21,000. And in Clifford, we did more service work on William Street, and I believe it's virtually complete, the underground, not the paving, for $10,000. Highlights?
Questions? Hearing none, recommendation is the Council of the Town of Minto receives the Treasurer's report dated October 30th regarding approvals of accounts and approves the Town of Minto accounts by department for October 9th, 2019. Moved by Mayor Bridge, second by Councillor Dirksen. All in favor of that motion? Against? That's carried. So let's talk about the minutes of settlement, Gord.
So this is the first report done by our new revenue coordinator. It was changed by our expert, that's for sure. Not that many items, but there's a couple of unusual ones. We've had some things go from payment in lieu, RG is a class, and they're two small lots owned by the MTO, and they've gone from payment in lieu to exempt. And I did question that, and the reason was they said, well, emergency vehicles may use it for turnaround. So.
Oh, that's nice.
Anyway,
they make
as
the
a
rules.
result, they are now tax free. So that was kind of interesting. and there were a couple of other reclassifications. We're already being pre-warned. There's going to be a few of these. We call them the RT-FT flips, where things go into residential when they really should be farm class too. And a couple of other small adjustments. The other unusual items, and this is probably one time, for our legions, we used to give them a tax break at the lower tier and then the upper tier, but they would still pay the education portion. And that was kind of our prerogative, but we always did it. The province recently came out with new legislation that totally exempts legions. So that was after the return of the roll, so that's why it's on. So it's good. The legions will now be paying no tax on education, and you know we know they have their struggles, and I think that's a good thing.
So have they been told the good news, Gord?
I believe so. Yeah, because they often send in a letter and they say, well, things are different. I believe they got the notices and everything.
Questions for Gord? Recommendation then is that the Council of the Town of Minto receives the October 2019 report from the Treasurer and the Revenue Coordinator regarding assessment adjustments and that these adjustments be approved. Then a mover, Councillor Johnson, Councillor McKenzie, all in favor of that motion? That's carried. Against? Carried. Pass the chair back to our mayor. Thank you.
And I've got other businesses disclosed, and I want to start with Dave. Do you want to start?
Sure, yeah. I just wanted to talk about November 11th and November 10th.
Mine.
Sorry. You can add to it. We have two legions in the town of Minto, and everybody needs to get out and support them. November 10th is the Cenotaph in Clifford, and then to service in the community center. That Sunday afternoon, so 2:15. So I strongly urge everybody take 5 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever it takes, go to the Cenotaph, pay your respects and show your appreciation to our fallen. Thank you.
That it?
I think so.
Okay.
Sure. So Deputy Mayor Turton took mine as well. I guess I
Like
would
that.
add that the Harrison Legion is going to be at Crescent Care at 1:30, also on Sunday afternoon. And so if you have family members there, you may want to attend with your family members. And then, as Deputy Mayor mentioned, then we're headed up to Clifford. And I'm sorry, I don't know Palmerston. I believe they only have the Monday services?
Yes.
Okay. So, of course, everybody knows that the service is at 11 at Cenotaph on Mondays in both towns, right?
So I'll just add to that because so this year I'll be in Palmerston and Mayor Turton is going to be in Harrison, and I know Judy, you're in Harrison we're doing. So Palmerston, they're laying 100th year one as well or something special one that
They really, they've really upgraded the park over there too. They've got nice benches in there.
Yeah, they did the benches changed up a little bit and they've cleaned the cenotaph, I believe, as well. So.
Nice. Looks great.
Yeah, looks good. Anyway, so yeah, by all means, everybody get out if you can to the services and appreciate that. I know, unfortunately, they had service today. I had a conference call. I couldn't be there in Wellington County, and I'm assuming our Legion got there and read out all the names of the cenotaphs in Wellington County. I think it's a great service, and I've been there in the past when the crosses are out on the lawn going down. So if you get a chance to go by and have a look at that, it's quite impressive. Good job with the Wellington County Museum on that as well. So I think David couldn't be there either because I remember he's
got a meeting.
So. Anyways, that's it for that, and yeah, I don't have anything else. Right?
I had one other.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
One other wee little item. Just encourage people to get the flu shot.
Oh yes, the flu shot. Yes,
because they've got it in stock again.
It's gonna be a bad flu year, they say.
Oh well.
They always.
I don't know what they say, but it's a good idea to get a flu shot, anyways.
Yep, for sure.
Yes. So, I believe this Thursday night is a blood donor clinic too.
Oh, there is. Yes.
Yep. So consider that as well.
Right?
From 5 till 8.
Okay, I guess we'll take a break because we don't do the bylaws till after.
That's right.
So we'll take a little break and we have a meeting at 5 o'clock. So stretch your legs, do whatever. What we got.
I always keep going. Showing up.